Tell us about some of the choices you've made for your child.
When we found out that our daughter was deaf, at that time we were in a small town, and there were not many deaf children in the town, and I felt that it was important for our daughter to have social development and have friends, and also the school choice was important. So we realized we had to consider living in another place, and we realized that we could stay, we could ask the school to provide services, but we felt a deaf community was important as well. And so we did move where there was a large deaf community, and they had a mainstream program. We did take our daughter to the mainstream program, and I think because of my own background and the frustrations that I had without interpreter services, without captioning, I later realized all of the services I could have had. And I knew that for our daughter, we wanted to make sure that services were provided for her. So our first experience in kindergarten, we happened to have a deaf teacher in that kindergarten program, so that was very nice. She started in their program with that deaf teacher. Things went very well, and then when she moved into first grade, she was mainstreamed with an interpreter, and I was fortunate in the fact that the kindergarten teacher had already trained the school on interpreter services, how to set up the classroom, how to work with the students one-on-one, and it was very nice. So it was less my having to advocate for the services needed. Then we moved again because of job opportunities for us, and they had a mainstream program, or they called themselves a mainstream program, but really my daughter was the only deaf child. So I did have to talk to the child and request certain services, and their philosophy was actually quite different. They were more oral based, auditory training based, and I disagreed. I wanted education to come first, and you can add these services later, but the education has to be first. And they seem to put education after the speech and auditory training, and I disagreed with that. So I did have several run-ins with them, but I think because of my own background, that helped me to know and be prepared and to ask what services were needed. My parents' experience was the opposite. It was their first time to deal with a deaf child. They didn't know what to do. They asked a physician. They followed the advice of one person at the school, and they didn't really understand or know about their other options. So our approach was different. We then moved to Texas because we heard that Texas could provide both a mainstream school and a school for the deaf opportunity, both. So we thought that was very nice, and we moved here. I look at the three different experiences that we had, and it just depends on the individual. My daughter loves the mainstream program. She has friends from the School for the Deaf that she hangs with nights and weekends, and it's really nice for her.